The New Deal has been created by the globalization process. It's still being created by it. In fact, it's full of contradictions, and one of the main ones is that whatever has happened to big nation nationalism, small nationality politics, the emergence of new nations and states is, if anything, accelerating under globalization. And this is what makes some kind of New Deal, new arrangement necessary. It's a fundamental point which tends to be taken for granted in the contemporary world, is that to be serious, to have bigger is generally better. And things can only be seriously achieved on a relatively large scale. The general age of development, when bigger was on the whole necessary and a bit better, is past. It may have been required to develop the capitalist social order. But with globalization, this has changed. These conditions no longer apply. The position of the Scots is quite important because they are an example of how things in a particular conjuncture could go either way. You know, could go. I mean, it could. There are still a lot of people very uneasy about the change, and part of them longing for the cringe, actually. You know, and the safety and security, and others who, having advanced a bit along the road towards self-confidence, you know, want more of it, and the only way to get it is to move in the direction of fuller self-government. This is a Dutchman's idea. It's a Dutch social historian called Eelco Runia at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, who tried to convey the same point as I've been making with a humorous metaphor, really. He says, we're all in the same ship. Yeah, that's globalization. And one problem of the ship is that once you're there, once everyone's aboard it, the whole you realize that most of the freight, the human cargo, like stowaways, as it were, you know, finds on the great noble vessel forging ahead with the big boys on the bridge, and all these marginalized or secondary or you know, in one way or another unrepresented lower deck passengers are coming up on deck. Now, the wretches are appearing on deck and saying, "What about us?" And what they're doing, in a way, of course, is demanding their tickets. The old system, the 1707 system, it's breaking up, breaking down. The blood has drained out of British identity in that sense. And so people have lost their confidence in Britain, and at the same time, exactly the same period, been struck by the tide of globalization. In order not to be carried away and become anonymous, as it were, an anonymous part of the new global, but you've got to speak up. It's now or never if you don't. And I think that Scottish opinion, Scottish sensibility has caught on to this clearly, and in ways that don't necessarily exactly match party politics, you know, whether Labourite, nationalist, anti-nationalist, conservative, or whatever. It's a more general change of climate, where it's recognised in a matter-of-fact fashion. People are weighing up the pros and cons of staying in the United Kingdom, or distancing yourself from it, or striking out on a new path, or you know, being in and out of Europe and so on. And I think that note of sober, matter-of-fact realism is the thing which you know is most new and different.